Corcoran, is that the last name?
Yep.
Did I say it correctly? Okay, great. Can you go ahead and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is true and accurate?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Jorde.
Thank you. Can you please state your name?
Caila Corcoran.
And how do you spell your first name?
Caila.
And, ma'am, do you or have you become owner of property that's being targeted by Summit and for which they want eminent domain powers over?
Yes, me and my husband have.
And which county is that in?
Dickinson County.
And was that ground previously owned by the Huntoon family?
Correct.
And did you cause through this process pre-filed testimony to be filed on the IUB docket?
Yes, we have.
And that includes some exhibits and attachments as well?
Correct.
And rather than walking through all of that here today, if I were to ask you those same questions, would the answers you give here be substantially the same?
Yes, but I do have one correction.
Yes, please.
It is on page 3 of what I have. It's talking about, do you depend on this income from your land to support your livelihood? And in reading and understanding after this, we currently do not have any livestock, but that opportunity is presented in the future. So we just want to make that clear. We currently do not have livestock.
Got it. So that's more reference to livestock and would be something as a future goal you have?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I would offer Exhibit 159 in the pre-filed testimony of Ms. Corcoran and all exhibits attached.
Are there objections?
No objection to the pre-filed testimony and attachments.
Thank you. Ms. Greenhagen, you didn't have an objection, did you? All right, double checking. You never know. All right. The board will admit the evidence, give it the weight due.
And I just want to make sure, ma'am. Okay, very good. Yep. So others may have questions for you, but I'm going to tender you for a cross-examination.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Taylor?
Thank you. I'm Wally Taylor. I represent the Sierra Club. And can we put up the KMZ file?
Your Honor, I had a feeling that would be where Mr. Taylor would start. I believe, and I apologize, this is an error on our part, because as Ms. Corcoran noted, her parcel was previously part of Huntoon Farms. The hearing KMZ does not properly reflect that. If you look at any of the Exhibit H withdrawal KMZs that have been filed in the last 2-3 months, it will show that correctly. Unfortunately, I don't believe those have the route line. So the board has the correct information in the EFS, but it may not show correctly on the actual hearing KMZ.
Okay. I'm following. Mr. Taylor.
Had we known the order, we could have provided a corrected one. We still can if you'd like, but we didn't want to change KMZs in the middle of the hearing just because we thought that would actually be more confusing rather than less.
Okay. Real quick. Sorry, Mr. Taylor.
Your Honor, let me just add one more thing. I was just texted by my team back at the office. The most recent Exhibit H withdrawal KMZ does have the route shown. So if we need to, that should have both Ms. Corcoran's property shown correctly and have a route line on it.
Okay, so thanks for your patience. That's a lot of procedural stuff that we get to deal with all day. So, Mr. Taylor, just to clarify, the only thing that would change in the updated file, which we can probably go try to track down, would be the red, some of the red shaded area, and perhaps the route. So do you want us to go find that one, or do you want to talk about generalities on the ground? I mean, for instance, the windmill's not going to change, and the actual features. So, is there something we can start on, and then while we work on getting that one up?
I'm sorry. So we will have the updated one in just a little bit.
I hope so.
Okay.
We're working on it.
Okay. To what extent, if you know, ma'am, does this map that's on the screen right now reflect what you understand to be the current features on the property?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure.
Sorry.
Sure. Apparently there's an updated map, and this isn't it, but we'll get it in a little bit. But to what extent does this map that's on the screen reflect what you understand to be the area of your property and where the pipeline route would be on the property?
Yeah, so if we're going off of this until we get the updated one, just to be clear that we are building a brand new house on this property, and from what I can see, it's going to cut right through the middle of our brand new house.
Okay, hey, Mr. Taylor, I'm sorry to interrupt. Let's just we'll hit the pause button and we'll get the right file up, so then we don't have to.
That would be great.
Yeah, yeah.
Your Honor, if it helps, I have questions that don't require the KMC that I could proceed with, and then we can turn it back to Mr. Taylor.
Always helpful. Is that all right, Mr. Taylor?
Wonderful.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Ryan. I appreciate that.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
You were talking a little bit about the house that you're building or planning to build. What stage is that at?
They're finishing the roof. It's in process.
Okay. And in your testimony, you said you and your husband are moving there. You're planning to start a family and start your life there?
We currently have 3 kids. I have twin 4-year-olds and a 2-year-old daughter.
Do you have concerns about having a family this close to a pipeline?
I don't even know where to start with that, but I'm very, very concerned. My boys thrive in the outdoors. Unfortunately, we live in Iowa where it snows, so that is the least favorite season, but we are outside all the time. If that is farming, going hunting for insects, exploring, outside is where we love to be. So the concerns with this hazardous pipeline being one that close to our home, or even being able to let my children go outside, or my husband's or myself, is very fearful.
And I want to just try to understand the relationships between different properties here. So this used to be part of the Huntoon Farm?
Correct. She is my great aunt.
Okay. And I think we heard earlier that there was testimony from someone from the Huntoon Farms also submitted in this docket?
Correct.
Okay. So the property you own was a section of that you've purchased?
Correct.
And it belonged to your great aunt. How long has it been in your family?
I believe she purchased the land back in 1996.
And is it something that you plan to pass on to your children?
I would love to, if I'm still alive.
Are you concerned about how this pipeline would interfere with your future plans?
Objection, Your Honor.
State the objection.
Asked and answered, covered at pages 3 and 4 of the direct testimony.
Ms. Ryan.
I'll be more specific.
Thank you.
I assume moving your family, building a house, owning a farm, a lot of financial investment. I assume you've done some pretty significant financial planning.
Absolutely.
And this property, is it part of your long-term financial plan and goals?
Yes, as I was able to grow up on a farm myself, it has been my dream to, we have moved out of state and we have just recently obviously come back to the state of Iowa. It is my dream to give my kids that opportunity that I have of being around the farm, doing all the farm work, participating in 4-H. Down the road, I would love to maybe have those cattle come to our house and raise those cattle so they can take those and have that opportunity to participate in 4-H.
Would you have concerns about having cattle on your property if there was a pipeline?
Yes, and currently there is cattle down at our place because my brother and my 2 brothers and my father own cattle, and our heifers, replacement heifers, are down there a minimum of 6 months of the year. So it's my land, but I'm also responsible for their livelihood as well and their income.
Have you talked with them about it?
Yes.
And what kinds of, it sounds like you sort of work together.
Yes, we're a family, we all work together.
And have you discussed how those types of relationships might be impacted by a pipeline?
They're very against it, and they're worried about what's going to happen. We might not be able to keep our cattle down there. That's where they go and they graze. They don't have other options for those types of calves to go during the summer.
And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see if Ms. Ryan bought us enough time. You did. Thank you. Back to Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. So if we can get the current map up, okay. That does look different. Ms. Corcoran, does this now look like the current configuration of your property and where you understand the pipeline route would be?
Now I've seen a corrected one. This is our property. Yes.
Okay. And did you ever talk to anybody from Summit about the route of the pipeline?
No, I've actually had no contact from Summit until Board Member Burns had brought up our piece of land to Eric Skovanek on the 7th of September. And then 2 days later, on September 11th, is when I had heard my first contact with Summit.
Did you talk to Mr. Skovanek or somebody else?
Tanner McDonald is the individual that contacted me from Summit.
Okay.
Assuming he's the land agent.
Okay. Did he say why they hadn't contacted you sooner?
Nope.
Did you ask?
Wasn't really too interested. I work a full-time job and I was in the middle of something. I just happened to answer it. And I had the first conversation with him, but then I had meetings during the day, and he had called back to me because he had forgot to extend the offer of how much money they want to give us. And that's a joke.
Have you had any other conversations with anybody from Summit other than Mr. McDonald at one time?
That'd be the only time.
Did he say why they hadn't contacted you sooner?
He did not, but he did tell me in a voicemail that I have that he would be mailing me this information. Well, haven't received it. But I also don't want to disclose where I currently live.
Okay. Do you know if anybody from Summit performed a survey on your property?
On my property at the time, no, but before it was transferred, I believe that, but I cannot talk on that because that's before, when it was Huntoons, I believe there was a survey done, or tried to be a survey, excuse me.
So when did you acquire the property?
We exchanged monies on, March 1st of this year, but we had been talking prior to that.
A little bit to the east of the center of your property, there are some trees and looks like maybe a driveway.
Correct. So this is, oh man, shaky. This is the driveway. There's a well up in here with a barn and a silo. And then you also see right here is another driveway where this is a home that was rented out until we took possession, and that home is from the 1940s.
And does somebody live there?
Not currently, but we do have dreams of maybe fixing that up and being able to use it as a rental.
And just for the record, that home would be just north of the south boundary of your property and to the east of that driveway, correct?
Correct.
Are there buildings north of that house?
Up in here? North of here?
Yeah.
No, there's some like old chicken coops within the tree area over here.
It looked like there were some structures or something there. I couldn't tell what they were.
Right here is a silo.
Uh-huh.
And then there's like an old like barn right in the left side of that driveway.
Okay.
And that's like where the well is the well is just about right here south of the silo.
Okay.
Which is what provides water to the heifers when they're down there.
Okay. So where do you keep the cattle?
This whole thing is all fenced in, and they're free to roam.
So your entire property is the lot for the cattle?
Correct. But
Okay.
we are working on fencing, obviously, from our new house. That is in work in progress.
Okay.
I don't think I would like cows that close.
Are there any actual residences near your property? I don't see any on the map. Maybe
If you would zoom out just a little, there is a family that lives directly to the west of us. And then also they're down,
Sort of to the south of the road and to the west, or the east of your property?
Yes.
Okay. Did any of the Summit representatives talk to you about eminent domain?
They did not.
Okay. Are you aware that that's in the background?
Unfortunately, which is beyond right. Thought we lived in the land of the free.
So back to the cattle for a moment. If the cattle are roaming all around there, they would be very close to the pipeline. In fact, they could be standing right on it. Is that correct?
That could very well be, yep.
What do you understand about the dangers or risk of the pipeline?
Objection, Your Honor.
State the objection.
The witness's concerns about safety risk, both to humans and livestock, are stated in the direct testimony in several places. Asked and answered is the objection.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Well, I'll ask another question.
Thank you, sir.
Do you know where the nearest emergency management, emergency response personnel would be if there were a rupture?
Yeah, so from our home address to the Superior Fire Department is 2.8 miles. They are a volunteer fire department in the town of Superior, which is like roughly like 188 people, so very small. Otherwise, we'd have Spirit Lake, which is from the Spirit Lake Fire Department is 8 miles to our home.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Ms. Coles?
Good afternoon, Ms. Corcoran, Jean Colas, Colas Family Farms. I see that you purchased the property in March 11th of 2023. Did you know that it was going to be put into eminent domain?
We had heard of it, kind of a little bit, but it wasn't really in our radar. My father is actually the tenant of that Huntoon piece to the north, and so I had a little bit of background, but when this really came into is when I really started getting more engaged into it, and it's terrifying. Why should I stop my dreams for somebody else to come and take this land?
Did you feel because it wasn't for the convenience or the public good that it would even go through eminent domain?
Didn't cross my mind because there is no, it's not the public need or necessity for us.
That's one of the bases for eminent domain. Anyway, you mentioned that you're ready to roof or are roofing your existing home that you've already started building. Where's that located?
I'm happy to. I mean, this is basically right where our driveway is, and this is right here where our home sits. Maybe not shortly above that, north of that, but we also have our septic system. Leach field is out here to the over here, and our basement, you kind of sit up a little bit on a hill, but I'm terrified to have water in our basement. So what they did is they took our tile, or there's a tile that comes right here. You can kind of see where it's kind of bare, and they hooked into that. So if this pipeline comes through and even, ruptures up, then my basement's going to be full of water.
So just to clarify, that tile runs north-south, west
North-south.
of that pipeline, in between the pipeline and that wet
This
spot.
creek.
Creek?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. We just need to make sure that when we're describing things, when we're reading it later on the record, that it doesn't say here or there, but east-west.
Sorry, I apologize.
Nope, you're doing great. Don't apologize.
Can you go back to the location of your home and point it out on the map with a pointer approximately?
So, I mean, as best as I can from this map, it'd be just sitting right here on this pipe, or on the pipeline, proposed pipeline.
So the pipeline, the 50-foot easement would be within the area that your home has currently been built.
I don't think it's 50 feet.
Were you planning on building a well on this property?
No, we have an easement on our land for the raw water to be brought to the house, and that's supposed to come in within the next week or two.
And where would that be located?
Well, the rural water is actually just across the road to the south, and they'll be coming across, I believe, is my understanding.
All right, that answers all my questions. Thank you very much.
Ms. Greenhagen?
Thank you. I just want to make a clarification here for the record. The parcel that is just to the north, have the red one here in the KMZ file. Do you own that property?
We do not.
Okay. And so that is DI 63. And then so the one that you own is DI 67, just for the exhibit numbers.
I can't read that. It looks to be that, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Mr. Levitt.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple questions, ma'am. You testified that you exchanged money for buying this property in March of 2023. Is that the date you closed? Is that what you meant by that?
Yes.
And am I correct to assume that you didn't start building a house until you'd already closed on the property?
Correct.
Okay. I understand. Can we bring the KMZ up briefly? I fully understand your testimony that you don't want this pipeline on your property at all. However, if it were to be on your property, have you had any discussions with anybody at Summit about running it down that western edge of your property?
No, because frankly, there is no other option if we don't want it. Because then if we're just pushing it closer to my neighbors to the west, then I'm just saying, oh, here, this is a little closer to you also.
Hypothetically, if the pipeline were approved, would you be willing to have a discussion with somebody from Summit about moving that route closer to the western edge of your property?
Really putting me on the spot. No, I don't want to, but I guess if I hypothetically have to, I would have a discussion.
I understand. Thank you.
Just making sure Corcoran. Okay. So Ms. Corcoran, did you mention that you heard me ask Summit the question on all those parcels?
Yes.
So you were listening at that time?
Yes, and I also went back to some recorded hearings. Yes.
And what was the response?
Give me a moment. His response was that we've been trying to engage with landowners the last 2 years. He hasn't seen anything from this client.
And so you took over possession March 1st, 2023, and you haven't had any, so just to be clear, you had no contact with Summit prior to me asking the question?
Correct.
Okay.
And I have my cell phone right here. If you would like to see, I have it from Tanner McDonald. It was after that.
Oh, you're sworn in. I trust you. I trust you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. And then prior ownership of this, do you know, did they receive information? Did they pass on any information to you of documents that they received?
They did not pass anything on because I am under the understanding they also do not want it, and they have multiple parcels affected as well.
I don't think I have any other questions. Thank you.
Ms. Coles, did I miss? Just making sure. I'm sorry. Mr. Jorde on redirect.
Ma'am, do you think that the Hunt Tunes, the prior owners, had any obligation or if you know any legal duty to provide you any information about this prior to your purchase?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And so again, just to tighten up the timeline here, March 1st, 2023, you closed on the property, and then Tanner McDonald for Summit, what was the date he contacted you?
He contacted me at September 11th.
Okay, September 11th. So after these hearings were already underway and progressing, you were contacted.
Correct.
And right now you've indicated that, well, so can we look at that KMZ again, please? So if we could just zoom in a little bit on that, you might be able to see in the very bottom right-hand corner of this entire screen that the imagery date here is July 25th, 2016. So we're like 7 years behind what actually it looks like. And so you're saying if we had an aerial today of the footprint of your home and all the work being done, that it would basically be on the pipeline route.
Correct, and if you could look at Exhibit 1, we submitted some photos of, I mean, it's a lot farther along than what it shows in that picture.
Okay, so, all right, can we pull up Exhibit 1, page 48, please? Or pardon me, not Exhibit 1, Exhibit 159, page 48. Okay, so this would be a view looking to the west, correct?
Correct.
And the wooded area is the area where you said that rental house was, and then as we go further west, we've got the construction area and kind of the footprint of where your home's being built.
Correct.
And along with the home, do you have a garage or any outbuildings?
On the current, we have an attached garage that will be on the new house. Correct.
Okay. And so it's clear to me at least that is smack dab in the area of where the pipeline would go. So to Mr. Leonard's question, would moving it even a bit further west, which would be further to the top of the screen by those trees, would that be acceptable to you?
So I suppose hypothetically, yes. I mean, it's still, if it's gonna rupture, if you put it even on the other side of the farm, it's not far enough away for the safe zone that supposedly is.
So, and I want to be careful with my question here. Mr. Leonard asked you a question, and he said hypothetically, if this was approved and you were contacted with Summit, would you have a discussion? Your answer was, if I had to, I would, but I want to be clear that your testimony is, if it is, that you don't want it anywhere near you.
I don't want it anywhere near me or my family.
Right. Okay.
Because my kids are way too precious in my life. And that pipeline is someone else making millions and billions of dollars.
So you're asking the IUB, obviously, to not grant eminent domain and not allow a pipeline route directly through your living room?
Correct.
All right.
And I think each one of these board members, they all have 3 kids as well. How would you like for your houses to be smacked upon that? And your 3 precious children be running around outside and something happens or explodes.
And have you obtained any understanding of whether or not, if this board were to grant an Exhibit H or the eminent domain over your property, if it's granting specifically where the white line is, or if it's just granting free reign anywhere on your property? Do you know?
No.
Okay. All right. In regards to your home or what's being constructed there, are there any more details about that property? You mentioned the septic system that are important to know, so we know how big the footprint is.
State that one more time.
The reason I asked is there's going to be a house, you're going to have a garage. You mentioned a septic field, which obviously you wouldn't want a pipeline through that. I'm just trying to get an understanding of if there were any other buildings or structures beyond the home, the garage, and then the septic field.
Currently at this time, no. Doesn't mean in the future there could be.
Right. So you've made the financial investment and decision to build what you're currently building, and then also with the ability to expand with other buildings and features in the future.
Absolutely.
All right. I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Corcoran. You're excused. So we'll take a 15-minute break real quick before we do. Do you want to let us know who we're coming back to?
Yeah, Sandra Lubenthal. That's who I want to call. Yep, okay, there she
And
is.
maybe over the break, if you want to give us an idea of what who you really need to and want to get done today for travel purposes. And
Yeah,
I don't need an answer now. Just,
sure, I'll take a look at it.
Sure, great, thanks.